Hello, I don't have a PowerPoint or anything like that. Jim Kelly. I'm a resident and parent of kids in the Collier school system, and I, with the help of one of the citizens in the community, have a few comments to make about the economics textbook, Understanding Economics, and I wanted to make a comment at the beginning of the program because I thought the comments were basically going to be similar to a normal board meeting where you have public comments. People say just about anything they want to say, and I'll read one paragraph from there before I make my briefing on this book, if that's okay with a parliamentarian procedure here. It's not going to be specific to the book. It's going to be specific to the general feeling that a lot of the critics of the book have, which is we have a sense that there's an indoctrination taking place in the classrooms, not just in Collier County, but in all the high schools and government-run schools in the country. So my comment is basically a general comment about what I feel about the country in general and how we're kind of losing that. I just want to make sure it's okay if I say it.
That's fine as a lead into, I assume, your analysis of the...
Exactly.
Text. Okay, great.
E pluribus unum, liberty, in God we trust. If you have a coin in your pocket or a dollar bill in your purse or wallet, then these phrases are with you right now. One of the favorite authors made me aware of those phrases in the context of our currency. He calls it the American Trinity, not the Christian sense of the Trinity. I say this today because it's the heritage of our common American values which animated me to get into this and stand here today. Values which are common not only between us, but also common to the men and women who had the courage and the wisdom that was also vital to the founding of our exceptional country. We are a unique country, and we have provided many, many good things to the world, not least of which is an opportunity for liberty of each individual person and their rights as a family through the marketplace. And that's why I had such an kind of a difficult time with going through this book, because I got a sense of just, there's nothing great about America in this book. America just happens to be another republic or another democracy. It's just another of the world economies. It gives a level discussion on free enterprise, mixed economy, and command economy, as if they're, well, which one do you choose? Well, you could choose command economy and be a North Korea, or you could be Venezuela, or you could be America. I just think there's a big, big difference. And even though it's an economics class, you're supposed to teach, truth and history. I don't think there's anything wrong with using the United States as the best option when it comes to a free market and the advantages of capitalism in the world. And there's a chapter there about that. And one of the things that jumped out at me, the first thing was in the first chapter, it talked about the debates of what economics was, what the description of what economy is. They give a little bit of lip service and mention a lot of guys, but Milton Friedman's not mentioned in this book. Thomas Sowell's not mentioned in this book. Walter Williams is not mentioned in this book. Those are modern. This is a 2018 book. Going to be made in 2018. If we're going to go ahead and just look at economics in a historical perspective, why bother having a multi-$100 book in the classroom to be used with number 2018 on it because it's new and fancy, when we could just go back and read a book that's been written a long time ago that has none of the principles have changed, and let the teacher bring in current stuff. But if you're going to have current stuff and you don't include Thomas Sowell, who is, for the people who don't know who Thomas Sowell is, he's a brilliant economist. And he's written a lot of great things, and he gets a lot of good feedback, and he is a Nobel Prize-winning economist, as is Paul Krugman, who is also highlighted in the book. And Paul Krugman is the man who says that the United States should not have a debt limit. We should spend any amount of money we want every year because Keynes says it's a great idea. Well, Thomas Keynes didn't say it was a great idea. He said it was a good idea in unique circumstances for a very short period of time, which is a very clear, basic economic principle. And I'm not even an economist. And this man is preaching this garbage. He even referred to the 9/11 incident as an opportunity to use the broken window concept. And if you're not familiar with broken window, you can look it up. It's a simple, economic principle. It says if somebody breaks a window, the guy who makes a glass makes money, the guy who sells a glass makes money, the store saves electricity, yada, yada, yada. So he thinks, okay, 9/11, just another broken window. And this is one of the left's heroes, Paul Krugman, okay? And he's highlighted in the book, and there's, as is, Adam Smith, he's mentioned in the book as well, but the concepts of Adam Smith is not nearly as prevalent. Milton Friedman not mentioned, it is mentioned in the book, I'll correct myself, I apologize. He is mentioned in the book as just a biography, but none of his concepts of supply side are minimized greatly. I remember that, I apologize, I misspoke. Karl Marx is mentioned also as just another economist. And then one part of the book was mentioned, Ronald Reagan's supply side period of the 80s, when Arthur Laffer was part of his team that helped recommend some of the concepts that basically became the kicking off point for basically 20 years of growth in the United States. And I think that's indisputable that from that period of time until basically almost 9/11, the economy in the United States was just growing at enormous leaps and bounds. The book claims that it shows how the Laffer curve works. Won't go into the details. Bottom line is, you cut marginal rates, you'll increase taxes to the Treasury. It says factually, it says, well, unfortunately, it didn't happen. Also referring to Reagan's concept as trickle down. And if you look at the history books, Reagan never used that term to describe his principles, and trickle down was simply a way to minimize it once again. So the author of the book makes a very blatant use of a politically charged term to denigrate supply-side economics. And I just pulled up some numbers from 1980. The Treasury brought in $517 billion, which is incredible. Think how small that was. 1980, $517 billion. Reagan comes into office. He leaves office. It was $909 billion. So, basically almost double. And then 1992 was when George Herbert Walker Bush left. And if you look at the history, the only thing that happened during the economy between Reagan and Clinton was George Bush raised taxes when he said he wouldn't, but he did. He got run out of office, and in his 4 years, it went up 10%. Okay, so then Bill Clinton comes into office, and then he's 2 years later, he's strapped with a Republican Congress that keeps him, limits his ability to grow the government. And we had economic growth from his time in office. It doubled, same just like about Reagan. A little bit better than Reagan. Actually, from 92 to 2000 with the Republican Congress, it went from $1 trillion to $2 trillion. So and during that time period, if you'll remember, that nobody was raising. They weren't raising taxes like they wanted to. The Republican Congress slowed down the Democrat president that wanted to raise taxes. And then there's a couple. You got this one in the email, so I won't say that one again. And then basically, there's just some tabs in the book. I just follow along here. The role of government. How does the government attempt to correct market failures? Well, that's not the role of government to correct market failures. In our economy, not in a free market economy. It may be in a command economy or the other kind of economy. I can't remember which the one was, but not in a free market economy. The government's supposed to basically level the playing field and stay out of the way. And so just by looking at the titles of the chapters and getting into some of the details, you can see that there's a general bias away from excellent free market principles as espoused by our founders and our country. And then there was a discussion there about a gasoline tax, gasoline prices, and how the different parts of the world are affected, and how it affects the price of a gasoline, when you pay for gas. But throughout the entire discussion, not once is the whole concept of a gasoline tax mentioned. So I thought that was kind of obvious, once again, pointing to the whole concept that if we speak bad about the government and taxes and raising the government, the size of government regulation, then we don't want to emphasize it or we don't want to point it out. So so the author avoids it and doesn't talk about it. That's really about it. I'm not going to go into the details. Basically, because I think the whole concept of giving somebody 10 minutes to try to go through a book that, basically there was a previous edition, so the author worked on that edition, made it bigger. He's got some really cool graphics on the internet. He's got some great videos on the internet. I mean, how does a working guy who doesn't have access to the paper book get on the internet to try to get a feel for what the kid's going to have, the experience the child is going to have, children, these are still children, are going to have when they're in the classroom. And so, since the nature of my work, I wasn't able to get to the administration building and look at the book. So I did my best to point out some of the glaring points. But I think the overall message was made clear tonight that there's a left leaning in the school system, and it's unfortunate. Thank you.